Olive oil, avocado oil, seed oil, vegetable oil, peanut oil, ghee, beef tallow. What am I talking about? They're all used to cook food, but which one is actually healthiest?
Your grandmother used one cooking oil her entire life and lived to 94. Then, experts told us it was deadly. Now, science is revealing she was right all along. But there's a twist nobody's talking about. The worst oil on this list? It has a health claim on the label. Let's start with the absolute bottom of the barrel. The oil's so bad, they got banned. Partially hydrogenated oils. These things are basically Frankenstein fats. Here's what happens. Manufacturers take liquid vegetable oils and blast them with hydrogen gas under high pressure. Why? Because it makes cheap oils thick, spreadable, and shelf-stable for years. Sounds convenient, right? Well, that process creates something called artificial trans fats, and your body has no idea what to do with them. I mean none. Zero. Your cells try to use these fake fats like normal fats, but they can't. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, except the hole is your arteries. Now, here's the double punch. Trans fats raise your LDL cholesterol. That's the bad stuff that clogs your arteries. But wait, there's more. They also lower your HDL cholesterol, the good stuff that cleans your arteries out, so you're getting attacked from both sides simultaneously. And the numbers? Terrifying. Just 2% of your daily calories from trans fats increases heart disease risk by 23%. 2%. That's like half a donut deciding your fate. The FDA finally banned these oils from the U.S. food supply in 2018. But here's the sneaky part. Some older products and restaurant fryers still contain trace amounts. And food labels can legally say 0 trans fats if there's less than half a gram per serving. Remember Crisco? Marketed for decades as healthier than butter. Turns out Grandma's lard wasn't the villain after all. Check your labels. If you see partially hydrogenated anywhere in the ingredients, run. But trans fats aren't hiding alone. There's another oil lurking in almost everything you eat. Now, let's talk about what's probably sitting in your pantry right now. That bottle labeled vegetable oil? Yeah, it's lying to you. There's no vegetable in there. It's almost always soybean oil wearing a disguise. And this stuff makes up about 70% of all cooking oils Americans use. Here's where it gets ugly. These oils are absolutely loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. Now, your body needs some omega-6, but the key word is some. The ideal ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 should be around 4:1. Americans eating these oils regularly? They're hitting ratios of 20:1. Sometimes higher. That's like showing up to a party with 20 friends and only one pizza. Someone's gonna get hurt. And your body does get hurt. Excess omega-6 triggers inflammation throughout your system. Chronic inflammation. The kind that quietly contributes to heart disease, arthritis, and metabolic problems. But why did we start eating so much of this stuff? Simple. It's dirt cheap. Restaurants love it because it costs about 1/3 the price of olive oil. Fast food joints especially. Speaking of fast food, here's something disturbing. When these oils get heated over and over in those fryers, they break down into compounds called aldehydes. These toxic byproducts have been linked to neurological damage in studies. Your brain didn't sign up for that. Soybean oil consumption increased over 1,000-fold during the 20th century. 1,000-fold. And weirdly enough, that timeline matches perfectly with rising obesity and metabolic disease rates. Coincidence? Maybe, but probably not. The worst part? You can't always avoid it by just skipping the bottle. This brings us to something sitting right between good and bad. Now here's where things get murky. Canola oil sits in nutrition's gray zone. Not terrible, not great, just there. The name itself is basically marketing genius. Canola stands for Canadian oil, low acid. They literally invented a word because rapeseed oil wasn't exactly flying off shelves. Can't blame them, honestly. Here's what canola has going for it. The omega-3 to omega-6 ratio sits around 2 to 1. Compared to soybean oil's disaster numbers, that's actually decent. It won't win awards, but it's not actively working against you either. But then there's the extraction problem. Most canola oil gets processed using hexane. That's a chemical solvent. Industrial stuff. Now, the amounts left behind are trace levels. We're talking parts per million. The FDA says it's fine. Still, chemical residue in my salad dressing isn't exactly appetizing conversation. Cold-pressed versions skip the hexane entirely. They cost more. They're harder to find, but they exist. The smoke point hits 400 degrees, which handles most cooking situations. Stir-fry? Sure. Deep frying? It'll work. The catch is that canola oxidizes faster than saturated fats. It doesn't hold up to repeated heating the way butter or coconut oil does. And yes, about 90% of North American canola is genetically modified. Whether that bothers you depends entirely on where you stand in that particular debate. My take? If you're baking something and need a neutral flavor, cold-pressed organic canola isn't the worst choice. It's the Toyota Camry of cooking oils. Reliable, boring, gets the job done. But don't mistake acceptable for optimal. Speaking of American staples that seemed like good ideas at the time, let's talk about the oil made from our most abundant crop. Corn oil. The all-American cooking oil that seemed like a no-brainer. We grow enough corn in this country to bury a small nation. 350 million metric tons every single year. So naturally, someone figured out how to squeeze oil from it and sell it cheap. And boy, did they sell it. Back in the 1960s, corn oil was everywhere. Doctors recommended it. Commercials swore it was heart-healthy. Your grandmother probably kept a bottle next to the stove for decades. Here's the problem nobody mentioned. Corn oil has an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of 46 to 1. Let that sink in. For every single omega-3 molecule, you're getting 46 inflammation-promoting omega-6s. That's not a cooking oil. That's a chemistry experiment gone wrong. 1 tablespoon, just one, contains almost your entire daily recommended limit of omega-6. Use it once for breakfast, and you've already blown your budget before lunch. Makes those heart-healthy claims from the 60s look pretty embarrassing now. But wait, it gets worse. When you heat corn oil, it oxidizes faster than a teenager's mood swings. Those free radicals it produces? They damage your cells and speed up aging. So that cheap bottle is actually costing you in ways the price tag doesn't show. The sneaky part is avoiding the bottle isn't enough. Corn oil hides in margarines, crackers, chips, and about half the processed foods in your pantry. You have to actually read labels, which I know sounds exhausting, but your arteries will thank you. Now, corn oil is bad, really bad. But the next oil on our list creates genuine confusion because experts literally cannot agree on whether it's friend or foe. Here's where things get spicy. And by spicy, I mean controversial. Coconut oil is basically the Kardashian of the cooking oil world. Everyone has an opinion, nobody agrees, and it somehow stays relevant decade after decade. Let's start with the elephant in the room. This stuff is 82% saturated fat. That's higher than butter, higher than lard. For 50 years, nutritionists treated it like poison. But then, something weird happened. people started noticing that populations eating tons of coconut, like those in the Philippines and Sri Lanka, weren't dropping dead from heart attacks. In fact, they seemed pretty healthy. The secret might be in the type of saturated fat. Coconut oil is packed with lauric acid, a medium-chain triglyceride. Your body handles MCTs completely differently than the long-chain fats in a ribeye steak. They zip straight to your liver and get converted into quick energy instead of hanging around your arteries. This is why you'll see gym bros dumping coconut oil into their morning coffee. Does it actually boost metabolism? The science says, maybe, a little. Results are genuinely mixed. Here's what we know for certain. Coconut oil raises your LDL cholesterol, but it also raises your HDL cholesterol. Whether that trade-off is good or bad depends on which researcher you ask and what day of the week it is. One practical limitation, though, the smoke point sits at only 350 degrees. Fine for baking cookies, fine for light sautéing, terrible for searing a steak. And the flavor? Amazing in Thai curry. Fantastic in banana bread. Absolutely bizarre on your morning eggs. Speaking of traditional fats with complicated reputations, butter and ghee have quite the redemption story. Now we're getting into the comeback kids. Butter and ghee spent decades in nutritional exile, banned from kitchens like some kind of dairy criminals. Turns out they were framed. Here's what nobody told you during the low-fat craze. Butter contains butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that literally feeds the good bacteria in your gut. Your intestines love this stuff. It reduces inflammation and keeps your digestive system running smooth. But butter has a problem. Heat it too high, and it burns. That's where ghee enters the chat. Ghee is basically butter that went to finishing school. You remove the milk solids, and suddenly that smoke point jumps from 350 to 485 degrees. Now you can actually cook with it without setting off every smoke alarm in your house. And the grass-fed versions? They're loaded with vitamin K2 and omega-3s that conventional butter can't touch. Cows eating grass versus cows eating grain makes a massive difference in what ends up on your toast. Speaking of toast, remember when everyone swore butter would kill you? That whole campaign traced back to Ancel Keys's research from the 50s. The man studied 22 countries, but only published data from 7. The 7 that happened to support his theory. Convenient, right? 1 tablespoon of butter gives you 7% of your daily vitamin A, plus vitamins D, E, and K. These are fat-soluble vitamins, meaning they literally need fat to work properly. The low-fat movement accidentally created vitamin deficiency problems nobody saw coming. Ghee has been used in Indian cooking for over 4,000 years. 4,000. Maybe those ancient cooks knew something we forgot. But what if you want something even more versatile? Now we're getting into the good stuff. And I mean really good. Avocado oil has a smoke point of 520 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the highest of any natural cooking oil. You could practically sear a steak on the sun with this stuff. Okay, not really, but you get the point. It's about 70% oleic acid, same heart-healthy monounsaturated fat that makes olive oil famous. So you're getting premium benefits in a bottle that can handle serious heat. But here's where it gets interesting. Studies show avocado oil helps your body absorb carotenoids from vegetables by up to 15 times more effectively. Those colorful compounds in carrots, tomatoes, spinach? Your body struggles to use them without fat. Avocado oil turns your salad into a nutrient delivery system. I started using it for everything. Roasting vegetables, searing chicken, even baking brownies. The neutral flavor disappears completely. No weird aftertaste. Just clean, versatile cooking. There's a catch, though. A 2020 investigation found that 82% of avocado oils tested were either rancid or mixed with cheaper oils. 82%. That's like buying a lottery ticket and having worse odds of getting what you paid for. Always buy from reputable brands with third-party testing. Yes, it's expensive. $15 to $25 per bottle. My wallet cried the first time. But here's the thing. You actually use less because it doesn't break down and smoke everywhere. Less waste means better value over time. Think of it as the reliable pickup truck of cooking oils. Does everything well? Never complains. But there's one oil that still wears the crown, and it's been doing it for thousands of years. Now we've reached the king, the undisputed champion. Extra virgin olive oil. That extra virgin label actually means something. The oil gets extracted mechanically without heat or chemicals, which preserves over 30 different polyphenols with serious antioxidant power. You know the Mediterranean diet everyone raves about? The heart benefits largely come down to olive oil. We're talking 3 to 4 tablespoons daily. These folks have been doing this for thousands of years, while the rest of us were arguing about margarine. Here's something wild. Evu contains a compound called oleocanthal that works like ibuprofen for inflammation. Same pain-relieving effect, minus the stomach damage. Nature's pharmacy, right there in your salad dressing. And that old myth about olive oil having a low smoke point? Complete nonsense. Quality extra virgin olive oil handles around 400 degrees Fahrenheit just fine. Sauté away. Roast those vegetables. It won't turn toxic on you. The research keeps stacking up. Daily olive oil consumers show 28% lower stroke risk. They experience significantly less cognitive decline as they age. My grandmother used it on everything and stayed sharp until 92. Coincidence? Maybe not. But here's the catch. Olive oil fraud is absolutely rampant. Some studies found nearly 70% of supermarket brands were either rancid or diluted with cheaper oils. That Italian olive oil might have never seen Italy. So, protect yourself. Buy dark bottles that block light damage. Check for harvest dates within 18 months. Look for third-party certification seals. Yes, the good stuff costs more. Your brain and heart are worth it. Speaking of worth, let's talk about the oil that somehow beats olive oil for high-heat cooking.